let's shuffle on to our next topic now, and it's basically in the world of Hollywood in general. Like, obviously, the title of the podcast today, your favorite podcast, is Hollywood is Insufferable. So we're going to be looking at the strike, and the strike is, boy howdy, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. So Hollywood studios offer new concessions to striking screenwriters, Bloomberg News. So let's just take a look at this real quick. So Hollywood studios have made a new offer to striking screenwriters that includes concessions on issues such as the use of AI and access to viewer data. So this is also to, I think they also made this offer to the actors as well. I'm not 100% certain on that. So Bloomberg News reported on Monday, citing people familiar with the discussion. So the Alliance of Motion Picture Television Producers has agreed to ensure humans are credited as writers of screenplays instead of replacing them with AI. That's an amazing thing to see in an article. We're going to ensure humans are credited. Like, yeah, all right, obviously. Wow. The report said, adding that the companies would also share, this is the real big thing, this won't be public, but the companies are going to be sharing data on the number of hours viewed on streaming services. So this is how they can get their like residuals, basically. So other parts of the offer include a better than 20% increase in residual payments to writers when their shows appear on networks other than the one that they were made for, which I think is right. Like that should happen. You're selling it to another service. So, I mean, it's sold on the fact that you're selling it denotes its value. So the writer who created the value must get some of that. I think that's pretty fair. Netflix co-chief executive officer Ted Sarandos has emerged as a strong force, and Walt Disney co-CEO Bob Iger in recent weeks has joined him.
Interesting.
Deal with the writers, the report added. I think they paid for some of that good PR. The union striking Hollywood writers said on Friday it received a counter proposal from the studios that it would consider an apparent sign of progress in the more than 100-day-old strike, which is insane that it's been going on for so long. It's like a third of a year. The strike by Hollywood writers began on May 2nd after talks began between the WGA and major studios reached an impasse. Blah, 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 blah. We all know about that. What do we think of this as a quick update for the strike? Are we for the strike? Are we against the strike? What do we think? Jonas, what's your opinion on that, buddy?
Well, I'm going to borrow Script Doctor's opinion first, his informed opinion. He stated to us, I think it was on, there's been so much streaming lately. I don't know what's been an offline and an online conversation, but he was fine with this getting out there, that Bob Iger is the one that is holding up things, and he's the one who's been dragging his feet. Because I got to say, his position right now, he's better if they're not making content, because that is they don't have anything good coming around the bend. Deadpool 3 is the next good thing on the horizon for them. So the idea that Bob Iger is praised in this article to me is highly suspect for some of the reasons you said as well. I think Reed Hastings from Netflix and Ted Sarandos, sorry, it was Ted Sarandos that was mentioned there. They're kind of co-CEOs or whatever.
Well, Reed just left actually about.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think Netflix, and the problem right now is with streaming, when everything is on streaming, that back catalog just creates a lack of urgency on the part of the streamers. And Bob Iger right now is kind of dragging his feet. So for them to say a human will be credited, I think that there's going to be an expert AI wrangler who's going to get writing credit on a lot of scripts.
Yep.
And the idea that they're sharing numbers, I think that might actually not be that big of a concession, because it might reveal that these shows are not as popular as they appear to be.
And
that's a lot. Exactly. They'll shoot themselves in the foot by that, are they? They're like, well, here's how little you people are watching our show, so you can get the same amount that we gave you, basically.
But now you're going to know why you're not getting any money.
Yeah. Well, but let me suggest this, that information is very dangerous for them to release to any of these actors, because it will end out in public. That's not going to get. I mean, they're going to count on the people keeping their word or whatever. But somebody who's frustrated with a show,
there'll be leakers for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking at these numbers, whether people want to believe it or not. And
it'd be interesting to see whether what numbers are leaked line up with the likes of oh goodness me, I can't remember the websites which monitor all these things. What are they called again?
Samba and Nielsen.
That's one.
Yeah.
Nielsen's chart and Samba TV. I'd be interested to see whether they align with any of that as a ballpark.
I think Nielsen IQ is incredibly accurate, and I know Samba represents 1/3 of the streaming market in the States as far as appliances.
Literally just scale it up, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I do when I look at the numbers. I'm like, okay, this is kind of what this represents. But I think even those estimations are going to be pretty close. And I think people are going to find that these shows aren't getting the kind of attention that people would expect. But look, my thoughts here, and then I'll let others speak, is because I feel like I've dominated this a little bit, but is that these aren't concessions at all. They're not, or if they are, they're not much of them. Because like one of the lowest risk things they could offer there was to add to what Jonas was saying is the network switch. When a show switches networks to continue on there to be, rebroadcast or whatnot, or perhaps streaming services, that's very low risk because and by design right now, fewer and fewer shows are making it to syndication. So you're not going to see that very often anymore.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, so that's incredibly low risk, and it's something that I'm like, well, that's an obvious one that it's not a win. I mean, do
you think the studios are looking at it as syndication has been replaced by streaming anyway, so you don't need the 500 episodes anymore like they used to?
But here's the other thing. Streaming services have to be more discerning now. They have to be careful in what they select to put on there because they want to create perceived value. They're having a hard time conveying that to an audience right now, and in particular Disney primarily. I mean, like Jonas brought up just a moment ago, the best thing they've got on Disney's Bluey, and it's not theirs.
And they have problems advertising on Bluey because they've promised not to advertise specifically to children. Whenever Disney gets their ad situation worked out, which they still haven't. It sounds like they're going to kill Hulu and make it a blade of Disney Plus, which is I think is a horrendous idea.
That's an awful idea. That's similar moronic thinking to changing HBO Max to Max. You're removing a brand identity, which is marketable in and unto itself. It's the worst thing you could possibly do. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
So Max has suffered massive subscriber loss as a result of that as well. So.
That's true. Max's numbers have gone down. The excuse they gave on the earnings call was that when Discovery and HBO Max merged, that it was just the Venn diagram of people who were subscribed to both losing numbers.
Definitely
so. Wall Street went for it. I will say that. Now, Warner Brothers does still have in their back pocket that they're planning on doing another free ad-supported streamer at some point. I don't know if that'll be another tier of Max or some upcoming product like Tubi or Roku. I think right now, Hulu and Peacock are kind of where it's at as far as streaming services go. They have a robust ad platform.
Peacock, no, not in the UK. It's not
really?
Here. You can't get Peacock here, so it's Peacock not.
It's domestic market only. It's not available anywhere outside of North America.
Yeah, but let's bring it back ever so slightly to the strike and those sort of concessions and things like that. Where do we think we'll see that? With do you think that'll be happy? Do you think that'll the writers will get on board with that? What are we thinking there? Andre, we haven't heard from you, buddy, have we?
I don't think that the writers really are the problem here. From what I
this was offered to the writers, though. So
yeah, I know, but the problem aren't so much the writers. The problem are the heads of the writers' union.
Oh yeah, of course,
From what I understand, are a bunch of commies that want to completely uproot the industry, and their support among the writers is waning. So I think that whatever new proposal there is, I don't know that the heads of the WGA are going to be happy with it, but I think that most of the writers will be like, yeah, whatever, just let us work again. That is what I think. And I think that if the guild does not agree with with this thing right here, we're going to start to see some real issues with the writers and dissent among the ranks. Like I don't know that for sure, obviously, but that's just my feeling based on observations.
Do you think if something like this was offered to the actors, because again, it addresses the AI, addresses kind of obviously specific to the writers, but it addresses AI and addresses residuals because of streaming and things like that. Do you think the actors would go for this as well? Because I don't think they would.
Well, what would be the equivalent there as far as
same
human?
Same thing as transparency with the streaming numbers, so they can get better residuals. Selling product to other streamers so they get more residuals from that as well. Yeah, in terms of the AI, there isn't really an equivalent. I guess the equivalent would be don't use an AI.
Well, no, I think no, it would be compensation for any time that their scanned images placed in anything.
Right, all those actors and actresses on the set of WandaVision that were fully scanned to be incorporated into that show and maybe signed over their rights
that they didn't know about. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I wonder how many people on Marvel productions right now are like, oh, I'm in a crowd shot. I need to be getting paid. I think that one is one they really need to nail down. And there's going to be, I don't know how many people, 40 people from this year that appeared in one production that are going to get paid for the rest of their lives, like they're the Wilhelm scream, and you're going to have those same 50 faces in every production from here on out, and we'll all be going, oh yeah, there's Janice. 20 years from now, I hope she gets paid.
Tom, we haven't heard from you about this. What do you reckon? You're not massively pro strike, I know. So what's your thoughts? Buddy?
Yeah, no, I think this is, for a lot of it, it's.
Think they'll go for this or not? Do you think this will appease some of the WGA?
I mean, the real sticking points for the writers right now is some things that even some of the writers think are stupid, like this mandatory writers' room business. And I mean, as far as like the AI thing, I don't even know why that would be an issue. Like the studios, I can't but imagine them thinking that AI is going to be, anything worth a shit in the future, because it's not even really AI, it's simulated
intelligence.
Intelligence, really. And then as far as the rest of it goes, I mean, the writers are undersung. I have less sympathy for the actors and their plight. But yeah, I mean, you guys have pretty much made all the main points. I'm not a big supporter of either strike, but I mean, if I had to support one over the other, I guess I'd just support the writers more than I would the actors in a way. But I agree, like, people should be paid for their work. I don't like where AI is going, and I think a lot of people have good reason to be afraid of some of this shit, and it's going faster than they can regulate it.
No, I completely agree. Completely agree with all of you.